The Jimmy Olsen Radio Network.
Spinal adjustments provided by Dr. Chad Rolfson. The Spinal Tuning Chiropractic Center is a Des Moines area low flat fee per month unlimited chiropractic care practice. When life happens, just adjust. Schedule today at spinaltuning.com. Barbecue provided by Kenny's Rib Wagon, catering ribs for your pleasure and serving daily at Plaza Pub, 62nd and Douglas in Des Moines, across from Merle Hay Mall. Find Kenny's Rib Wagon on Facebook. Welcome to Bible Story Time. 1 Samuel 9:1 through 10:27. Saul became king. There was a wealthy and influential man named Kish from the tribe of Benjamin. He was the son of Abiel and the grandson of Zeor, and belonged to the family of Bechorath. A part of the clan of Apiah, he had a son named Saul, a handsome man in the prime of his life. Saul was a foot taller than anyone else in Israel and more handsome as well. Some donkeys belonging to Kish had warned off, so he said to Saul, "Take one of the servants with you and go and look for the donkeys." Then they went through the hill country of Ephraim, the region of Shalasha, but did not find them. So they went on to the region of Salim, but the donkeys were not there. Then they went through the territory of Benjamin, but did not find them. When they came into the region of Zup, Saul said to the servant, "Let's go back home, or my father might stop thinking about us, about the donkeys, and start worrying about us." And the servant answered, "Wait! In this town there is a holy man who is highly respected because everything he says comes true. Let's go to him, and maybe he can tell us where we can find the donkeys." "Well, if we go to him, what can we give him?" Saul asked. "There's no food left in our packs. We don't have anything to give, do we?" The servant answered, "I have a small silver coin. I can give him that. And then he will tell us where we can find them." Saul replied, "It's a good idea. Let's go." So they went to the town where the holy man lived. As they were going up the hill to the town, they met some young women who were coming out to draw water. They asked these women, "Is the seer in town?" At that time, a prophet was called a seer. And so whenever someone wanted to ask God a question, they would say, "Let's go to the seer." "Yes, he is," the woman answered. "In fact, he is just ahead of you. If you hurry, you will catch him. As soon as you go up into town, you will find him. He arrived into town today because the people are going to offer a sacrifice on the altar of the hill. The people who are invited won't start eating until he gets there because he has to bless the sacrifice first. If you go now, you will find him before he goes up the hill to eat." So Saul and his servant went on to town, and as they were going in, they saw Samuel coming out toward them on his way to the place of worship. Now, on the previous day, the Lord had told Samuel, "Tomorrow about this time I will send you a man from the tribe of Benjamin. Anoint him as ruler of my people, and he will rescue them from the Philistines. I have seen the suffering of my people and have heard their cries for help." When Samuel caught sight of Saul, the Lord said to him, "This is the man I told you about. He will rule my people." Then Saul went over to Samuel, who was near the gate, and asked, "Tell me, where does the seer live?" Samuel answered, "I am the seer. Go ahead of me to the place of worship, both of you to eat with me today. Tomorrow morning I will answer all your questions and send you on your way. As for the donkeys, there were lost 3 days ago. Don't worry about them. They have already been found. But who is it that the people of Israel want so much? It is you and your father's family." Saul answered, "I belong to the tribe of Benjamin, the smallest tribe in Israel, and my father is the least important one in the tribe. Why then do you talk like this is me?" And Samuel led Saul and his servant into a larger room and gave them a place at the head of the table where the guests, about 30 in all, were seated. Samuel said to the cook, bring the piece of meat I gave you, which I told you to set aside. So the cook brought that choice piece of leg and placed it before Saul. Samuel said, "Look, here is the piece that was kept for you. Eat it. I saved it for you, and eat it at this time with the people I invited." So Saul ate with Samuel that day. When they went down to the place of worship to the town, they fixed up a bed for Saul on the roof, and he slept there. And at dawn, Samuel called to Saul on the roof, "Get up. I will send you on your way." Saul got up, and he and Samuel went on to the street together. Where they arrived at the edge of town, Samuel said to Saul, "Tell the servant to go ahead of us." The servant left, and Samuel continued, "Stay here a minute. I will tell you what God has said." Then Samuel took a jar of olive oil and poured it on Saul's head, kissed him, and said, "The Lord anoints you as ruler of his people Israel. You will rule his people and protect them from all their enemies. And this is the proof to you that the Lord has chosen you to be the ruler of his people. When you leave me today, you will meet 2 men near Rachel's tomb at Zelzah in the territory of Benjamin. They will tell you that the donkeys you were looking for have been found, so that your father isn't worried anymore about them, but about you, and he keeps asking, 'What shall I do about my son?' You will go on from there until you come to a sacred tree at Tabor, where you will meet 3 men on their way to offer a sacrifice to God at Bethel. One of them will be leading 3 young goats, another one will be carrying 3 loaves of bread, and the third will have a leather bag full of wine. They will greet you and offer you 2 of the loaves, which you are to accept. Then you will go to the hill of God at Gilboa, where there is a Philistine camp. At the entrance of the town you will meet a group of prophets coming down from the altar on the hill, playing harps, drums, flutes, and lyres. They will be dancing and shouting. Suddenly the Spirit of the Lord will take control over you, and you will join in their religious dancing and shouting, and will become a different person. When these things happen, do whatever God leads you to do. You will go ahead of me to Gilgal, where I will meet you and offer a burnt sacrifice and fellowship sacrifices. Wait there 7 days until I come and tell you what to do." When Saul turned to leave Samuel, God gave Saul a new nature, and everything Samuel had told him happened that day. When Saul and his servant arrived at Gibeah, a group of prophets met him. Suddenly the Spirit of God took control over him, and he joined in their ecstatic dancing and shouting. People who had known him before saw him doing this and asked one another, "What has happened to the son of Kish? Has Saul become a prophet?" A man who lived there asked, "How about these other prophets? Who do you think their fathers are?" This is how the saying originated, "Has even Saul become a prophet?" When Saul finished his ecstatic dancing and shouting, he went to the altar on the hill. Saul's uncle saw him and the servant and asked him, "Where have you been?" "Looking for the donkey," Saul answered. "When we couldn't find them, we went to see Samuel." "And what did he tell you?" Saul's uncle asked. "He told us that the animals had been found," Saul answered, "and he did not tell us his uncle what Samuel had said about becoming king." Samuel called the people together for a religious gathering at Mizpah and said to them, "The Lord, the God of Israel, says, I brought you out of Egypt and rescued you from the Egyptians and all the other people who were oppressing you. I am your God, the one who rescues you from all your troubles and difficulties. But today you have rejected me and have asked me to give you a king. Very well then. Gather yourselves before the Lord by tribes and by clans." Then Samuel had each tribe come forward, and the Lord picked the tribe of Benjamin. Then Samuel had the families of the tribe of Benjamin come forward, and the family of Matri was picked out. Then the men of the family of Matri came forward, and Saul, the son of Kish, was picked out. They looked for him, but when they could not find him, They asked the Lord, "Is there still someone else?" And the Lord answered, "Saul is over there, hiding behind the supplies." So they ran and brought Saul out to the people. And they could see that he was a foot taller than anyone else. Samuel said to the people, "Here is the man the Lord has chosen. There is no one else among us like him." All the people shouted, "Long live the king!" And Samuel explained to the people the rights and duties of a king, and then wrote them in a book, which he deposited in a holy place. Then he sent everyone home. Saul also went back home to Gibeath. Some powerful men whose hearts God had touched went with him. But some worthless people said, "How can this fellow do us any good?" They despised Saul and did not bring him any gifts. Bible story time. 1 Samuel 9:1 through 10:27. If you enjoyed this story, share it on social media, Facebook and Twitter. You can also follow me at My Buddy Jimmy and on YouTube at My Buddy Jimmy 101.
The Jimmy Olsen Radio Network.